So, good evening, friends. We'll start today's session. We have learned certain aspects in acute diseases or homeopathic management of acute diseases as explained by Hahnemann. And while explaining, he has given all the pros and cons. First important thing which he explained that if you don't get a right remedy, how you will going to approach. So in short, if you will find partial similimum in the case, what should be your approach, how to deal with that, those aspects we have learned in detail. Few things which he has tried to explain over there. Before that, in our earlier session, we have discussed about homeopathic aggravation, and then in the last lecture, these certain things related with the homeopathic management of partial similimum we have discussed. There are few possibilities. If you are treating a patient with the help of partial similimum, and if the symptoms which are there with the help of which you have find it out a remedy, but all those symptoms are characteristic enough. So for example, if patient is having 10 symptoms, out of which 6 are matching to the case, 4 are not matching, but all 6 are characteristic, then if you prescribe that remedy, many a times chance is that all the 10 will vanish under the action of that specific remedy. That is the first possibility which can happen. Second possibility, if those symptoms which are there, which are not too characteristic, they are of vague in nature, then you have to go ahead with a different approach. So that's what he has explained in the 165 that already we have discussed in last lecture, that he explains over there in such types of cases, you have to consider certain things. So if a patient who comes to you, who is having, for example, 10 symptoms, out of which 6 are there matching, but they are not strong enough or characteristic enough, then you have to find it out a remedy which is best similimum for that case. It is not a perfect similimum, but still you have to start the treatment. You cannot deny, yes, I cannot treat you because I don't have a similimum. It's not the answer. Whatever may be the remedy which is matching, you start the treatment. That's what he says. Then how to approach further? So simple thing is that if you give that remedy to the patient, just see what happens after giving that remedy. The few symptoms which are matching might disappear under the action of that remedy. Then their remaining 4 or 5 symptoms are there, which are original features, and there is lot of chance that there arises new accessory symptoms because of the stimulus of this artificial medicine. So there will be a original symptomatology, remaining symptomatology plus newly added accessory symptom, and you get a new totality now. And this totality, Hahnemann sir says, this totality gives you again a right remedy. You have to find it out a totality, form this totality, and you have to approach with the same remedy, whatever comes and after new totality. If you get again a right remedy, it's okay. If you don't get a right remedy with this new totality, again the same formula you have to follow till you get an ideal cure. And this approach is the rather perfect approach given by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann in those aphorisms. So technique is very simple. Many a times we have to follow this because many a times we never get all characteristic totality. We have to find it out remedies on the basis of vague totalities because patient never always explains you the characteristic totality. So it is a zigzag cure which you have to follow. And that happens many times when you are neophytes. It happens many times as you go on advancing in, or you get detailed knowledge day by day. Gradually, this zigzag nature stops, and you get the perfect remedy. But it doesn't make any problem, even though you are going with zigzag manner. It is the right approach which Dr. Samuel Hahnemann have explained over there. So we have read up to the 165 in last lecture. Let us start with the next aphorism, that is 166. Such a case is, however, very rare, owing to the increased number of medicines whose pure effects are now known, and the bad effects resulting from it, when they do occur, are diminished whenever a subsequent medicine of more accurate resemblance can be selected. So nowadays there are many drugs are available. During Hahnemannian time, there were less number of medicines, and that's why many a times he has to go with this zigzag manner. But now we have ample remedies in our hand. One of the remedy might match to the totality of the symptoms of the patient. If it matches, it's well and good. But if it never matches, this is the formula with which you have to go. So if your remedy is not a perfectly similimum remedy to that condition, then you have to follow with the best similimum and follow the track. Give that whatever disappears, whatever remains, and whatever newly aroused, that is called as accessory symptoms. Make a new totality. Find it out again, a new remedy. Give that remedy to the patient and let us see what happens. So this method you have to follow. And this is very simple way of going ahead with a partial similimum. So this is what he is explaining in this 166, that you have to go ahead with this approach. Then what he says in 167, thus, if there occur during the use of this imperfectly homeopathic remedy, first employed accessory symptoms of some moment, then in the case of acute disease, we do not allow this first dose to exhaust its action, nor leave the patient to the full duration of action of the remedy, but we investigate a fresh morbid state in its now altered condition and add the remainder of the original symptoms to the newly developed interest in the new picture of the disease. And this is what he is explaining. Here, if there arises new symptoms, which he labeled by the name of accessory symptoms after giving a partial similimum, those symptoms you should not wait to get vanished. He explains that if they appear, they should be considered, because they are not the symptoms of medicine, they are the symptoms reflected by the patient to the stimulus of medicine. Because whatever you have given is the stimulus. You have not given any material medicine to produce the primary action. So whatever is there is the exact reaction of that human being to your stimulus. So those are the symptoms of the patient only, and they are not the symptoms of the medicine. So you have to take into consideration the newly aroused symptoms and plus original remaining symptoms, and you have to form a new totality. And this totality will guide you towards new medicine again on the basis of symptom similarity. So see, approach is very simple, that you have to understand and you have to follow. So you get exactly new picture of the disease. That is what is called as a new totality of the symptom. Now what he further says, we shall then be able much more readily to discover among the known medicines an analog to the morbid state before us. Analog means similar condition. A single dose of which, if it do not entirely destroy the disease, will advance it considerably on the way to be cured. And thus we go on. If even this medicine be not quite sufficient to effect the restoration of health, examining again and again the morbid state that still remains and selecting homeopathic remedy, a medicine as suitable as possible for it until our object, namely putting the patient in the possession of perfect health, is accomplished. So see what he says. He says that if you get this new picture, which is consisting of the newly added symptoms, that is accessory symptoms plus the old remaining symptoms, and then you choose a remedy on the basis of symptom similarity. If it works and cures the patient, it's well and good. But still, you are not getting the perfect remedy. Now what has happened? Now you have given that remedy to the patient, and again it is a partial similimum. So what will happen? If it becomes again a partial similar remedy, then you have to follow the same track. This remedy will remove certain symptoms out of that totality. For example, out of those 8 symptoms, the patient has patients nearly about 5, 6 symptoms are disappeared. Now 3 are remaining. And again, there are newly aroused accessory symptoms. Then what you have to do? You have to follow the same track. You have to take into consideration those remaining symptoms plus newly added symptom. Again, form the totality. Again, find it out the right similimum till you get the cure. This should be followed, and this is what is the path when you get the partial similimum. See, Hahnemann was very clear about his ideas, and he was explaining that this might happen. And this happens quite commonly in your practice because many a times patients who are illiterate enough never give you details. They doesn't understand the value of characteristic symptoms, and that's why you cannot get such features in your practice. Then you have to follow this track, and this track gives you exactly how to deal with partial symptoms. So unless and until we get cure, this path should be followed. This is what explained in this 168 aphorism. Then he turns two more possibilities which are very, very important, which he explains over there, and both aphorisms are very important for us. What he says in 169, if on first examination of the disease and the first selection of medicine, we should find that the totality of the symptoms of the disease would not be effectually covered by the disease elements of a single medicine, owing to the insufficient number of known medicines, but that two medicines contend for the preference in point of appropriateness, one of which is more homeopathically suitable for the one part and other for the another part of the symptoms of the disease. It is not advisable after the employment of the more suitable of the medicines to administer the other without fresh examination, and the much less to give both together. Aphorism 272 note. For the medicine that seems to be next best would not, under the change of circumstance that has in meantime taken place, be suitable for the rest of the symptoms that then remain, in which case, consequently, the more appropriate homeopathic remedy must be selected in place of second time for the set of symptoms as they appear on new inspection. This aphorism gives you another view. What he has explained, take a simple example, then you will understand this aphorism. If you have done take case taking, you have formed the totality, and for that totality, you have 10 symptoms, but you don't have a remedy which covers all those 10 symptoms. Now, out of this totality, one group of 5 symptoms shows one remedy, and another group of 5 symptoms shows another remedy. Then how one can approach? See, all possibilities he has mentioned over there. So he says you should not give 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Two medicines taken together. It is not the approach. Then how one can go ahead? Then he says, with this, if you feel that one is more dominating than the other, you feel one is very clear, you feel, give that remedy to the patient first. But don't give second remedy immediately after. Then he says, just follow the earlier track. Give that remedy, find it out what happens. If the symptoms, those 5 symptoms disappears, it's well and good. Whatever 5 remains, and whatever newly added accessory symptoms comes, then again find it out a right remedy depending upon symptom similarity. So here you don't have to give that second best similimum which was available with you of the remaining 5 symptoms, but you have to again find it out a right similimum on the basis of remaining symptoms plus newly added totality, and you have to go ahead. And this is very important. There should not be a first similimum followed by second similimum. It should not be followed in such types of cases, but you have to follow the same track which he has already mentioned in a partial similimum remedy. So this is very, very important thing which he tried to explain over there. And he concludes that part of how to treat with partial similimum in this last aphorism, that is aphorism number 170 in this session. So we'll go ahead with this, and here completes the treatment of acute diseases in detail. So we'll lead towards the 170, and today we'll finish that and we'll discuss. From tomorrow, we'll start with the homeopathic management of chronic diseases. So what he considers in 170 aphorism. Hence, in this, as in every case where a change of morbid state has occurred, the remaining set of symptoms now present must be inquired into. And without paying any attention to the medicine which at first appeared to be next in the point of suitableness, another homeopathic medicine, as appropriate as possible to the new state now before us, must be selected. If it should so happen, as is not often the case, that the medicine which at first appeared to be next best seems still to be well adapted for the morbid state that remains. So much the more will it merit our confidence and deserve to be employed in the preference to the other. So the earlier condition, that first 5 symptoms and second 5 symptoms. If you are given the remedy for the first 5 symptoms and second similimum is there with you, but he says that you should not give it directly. You have to follow the same track. So what you have to do? You have to give that first similimum, just find it out which symptoms disappear and which remains. Take this new totality, take this those remaining symptoms plus newly added accessory symptom and find it out the remedy. If it is the same remedy which was available for the second 5 symptoms is there, then it boosts up your confidence in prescribing that. But it occurs very occasionally. That's what he says. It is not the case every time. Very occasionally you get such types of thing happens. Many times you get another similimum for that condition. So the concept should be fixed in your mind that if you are treating with the partial similimum, must follow the same path which Hahnemann explained. Take the new totality, find it out which are remaining symptoms plus newly added symptoms, make a new totality, again give the new remedy. This path should not be changed. And this is the answer when you are treating any disease with a partial similimum. So he has made our work very simple. How to go ahead with the partial similimum. So don't get disturbed if you are not getting a very perfect similimum at the first place. Even though you are not getting it, it doesn't matter. When you start giving medicines in such a manner, after some time, you definitely get a cure because you get a last remedy to be cured to that patient. So here completes the homeopathic management of acute diseases. He has started with the aphorism number 150 and he has ended with this aphorism number 170. The total homeopathic management, all the pros and cons, all things which can happen in the treatment, everything he has discussed in this 21 aphorisms, right from the 150 to 170. So today we'll stop over here, and tomorrow we'll start with new topic, that is homeopathic management of the chronic diseases. But my suggestion to all of you, go through those 21 aphorisms again. It takes only 10 to 15 minutes, but it will clear your thoughts again, and that clarity will help you in your practice. So that's all for today. Thank you being there. If there are any queries, we can discuss. Otherwise, we'll go ahead.
सर सर बॅच फ्लवर रेमेडीज काय म्हणजे काय आहे सर?
बॅच फ्लॉवर रेमेडीज बॅच हा होमिओपॅथ होता, पण तो थोडा आळशी होता. He was little bit lazy. So what he has done, that he, instead of going through those hundreds of remedies, He said that let us experiment with the remedies which have the flowers and what are the effects of those flowers on human beings. And those medicines which are prepared from the flowers are called as batch flowers remedies. So there are 38 remedies, and one remedy is the combination of 5 out of them, which is called as a rescue remedy. That is a combination useful in rescue states. But those remedies, my personal understanding or my personal aspect of using them, they can be a good palliative, but they are not always curative remedies unless and until they are selected on the symptom similarity. Because batch has given very few symptoms, psychological symptoms, on the basis of which it has been prescribed. So one or two indications and on which you prescribe those remedies. But that only temporarily palliates the patient's state of disposition. For example, if patient is unnecessarily in anxious state, then he explained that Aspen should be given. But that Aspen will remove his temporary anxiety, not the root cause. And all those medicines, which if you have a thorough proving of them, many of them we have the provings. If you go with them and understand the remedy and apply on the basis of symptom similarity, that definitely works. So just prescribing on the batch indication, it's not good. Yes, if you want to stable the patient temporarily with the help of for his mental restlessness or all those things, then you can use batch remedies in your practice. But those works in such a manner. This is my personal experience, but this is how I am using.
Thank you, sir.
Any other query? I will share there is one pamphlet on which I have written the indications of batch remedies in Marathi, what are their use or how they can be used. It is written over there. I will share that in next session. You can go through that. I will share that. That is a PDF which is available with me. Okay. So thanks a lot being there. We'll meet tomorrow again with the homeopathic management of chronic diseases from aphorism number 171. Thank you, everyone.